The deal is imminent is something that is being talked about for the past week, but nothing is done till it's done. Much as everybody would want this deal to be achieved for global stability, global economic stability, there is a huge discrepancy between what both the sides want. Anything less than what then President Obama achieved in 2015 is actually a defeat. The Iranians will continue to engage them, continue to talk, continue to drag feet, and continue to hold on to the nuclear issue. This, a nebulous solution, will lead to more trouble. Iran, with enriched uranium, and that to 60% enriched uranium, can produce a dirty bomb anytime it wants.
Both America and Iran, as you said, can claim that they're both the victors of the war. But where does this leave Israel? Hello and a very warm welcome to all. You're watching Hindustan Times and my name is Aisha Varma. On this segment of Point Blank, we take a look at the latest in the Middle East war, a top Trump official's visit to India, and energy crisis developments. Joining us at this point is HT's executive editor, Mr. Shishir Gupta. Sir, namaskar. So the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is essentially in India. He's made two key statements. One is that a deal between America and Iran is imminent. Another, that America will not allow Iran to have nuclear weapons. So what does this mean for the status of the deal, and what does it mean for India?
See, as far as what Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said, the deal is imminent is something that is being talked about for the past week, but nothing is done till it's done. Nothing is done till it's on the paper. And President Donald Trump has also made a statement to this effect that the deal is yet to be reached. Now, much as everybody would want this deal to be achieved for global stability, global economic stability, there is a huge discrepancy between what both the sides want. President Donald Trump, with his Make America Great Again, cannot afford to walk back on Iran on either the nuclear issue or on the Strait of Hormuz issue. Anything less than what then President Obama achieved in 2015 is actually a defeat. So that is one problem. Second thing is that they need to have some sort of a deal arrangement on the nuclear issue, which makes the entire war, which would be worth about $100 billion to both US and Israel, a war that was well worth winning. And this is something which the Iranians will not allow. The Iranians will continue to engage them, continue to talk, continue to drag feet, and continue to hold on to the nuclear issue. So sometimes they will up the nuclear issue, sometimes they will up the Strait of Hormuz issue. So between the two of them, it is for America to decide what can it actually compromise on. Now, the fact remains is that the chances of a war have been significantly reduced to the point that nobody wants to fight really. But does US get what its military objectives were? That is, nuclear defanging of Iran and ensuring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, which was a secondary objective. Now, as far as subsequent things are like sanctions being lifted on Iran, Iran being allowed to export oil, that all is part two. Part one is the nuclear issue, part two is the Strait of Hormuz issue, and then you come to subsequently. And these are not so simple as they sound. So let's wait for what happens. Let's see the deal in black and white, and then you can take a call on whether the deal is imminent or not. I mean, as far as the world is concerned, they would want some sort of a deal, some sort of extension of ceasefire, some sort of a ceasefire agreement where the global energy crisis goes down. And this is exactly what India is looking. India wants US and Iran to sign a deal. Its basic interest is purely that the oil prices go down. Because the oil prices are really severely affecting the economy. China has other sources of getting oil, LPG, LNG. India has a problem over there. And that is why, as far as India goes, India is keen that the deal be signed. It's keen that peace is restored in Middle East. It is keen that the Gulf countries are not hit by Iran. And the oil prices and the energy security issue is addressed squarely so that the global economy achieves a certain degree of stability.
So, considering that there's been such a lack of clarity as far as the next steps of the war are concerned, do you think that some are basically asking whether a nebulous solution is something that's going to work for the world?
See, you can say that, President Donald Trump can just simply get up and say that, listen, I actually pulverized Iran and I won the war. But that is not a solution really. The whole thing was, what was the military objective? Military objective was that you would force Iran to surrender its uranium, enriched uranium, right? And subsequently other things will follow, that is, lifting of sanctions and other issues. That has not happened. Now, as far as Iran is concerned, Iran can easily say, listen, I stood up to US, the biggest power in the world, for nearly 4 months, and I'm the victor because I have ensured that the Strait of Hormuz is actually locked up. I have not yielded up. There is no regime change. So you can actually twist and reconstruct the entire thing with your narrative. But the fact remains is that a nebulous solution will lead to more trouble. Because the day the American forces withdraw from the Gulf of Oman and from the North Arabian Sea, the Iranians will go after the Gulf states. And that is going to be a major issue because they will hold them responsible for what has happened to them, whatever be the justification. So a nebulous solution is not a good idea. A ceasefire just for the heck of ceasefire is not a good idea. There has to be a clear-cut thing because Iran with enriched uranium, and that to 60% enriched uranium, can produce a dirty bomb anytime it wants. Can US afford it now after this war? Can Israel afford it after this war? And things are in a really quite topsy-turvy when the world is concerned because again, Ukraine-Russia war has erupted. I mean, Ukraine first attack and Russia retaliated with ballistic missiles on Kyiv. So, under the entire scenario, what is going on, a nebulous deal is not a deal. And that definitely does not help Trump domestically with his MAGA voters.
Absolutely.
As far as Iran is concerned, it's a hardline regime with, people having various shades of hardline. The hardest line would be the supreme leader. Then you have the speaker, Ghalibaf. Then you have the foreign minister. Then you have, some so-called moderate, so to speak. Then you have the IRGC fellows also. So it's various shades of hardline. And for them, a victory is that they have not yielded to America, the great Saturn. That's it.
So both America and Iran, as you said, can claim that they're both the victors of the war. But where does this leave Israel? Will they end up feeling abandoned?
See, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it very clear to US President Donald Trump that this solution, a solution or a resolution of war without Iran giving up its nuclear capabilities and without Iran giving up its enriched uranium is not the right solution. It is a solution which Israel is not looking forward to. It's opposed to that solution. So Israel will ensure that the Iranians have to come with some sort of a compromise on their nuclear capabilities, while the maximalist position in this would be that the Iranians basically hand over the enriched uranium to either the Americans or the IAEA, and then subsequently say that they will not pursue a nuclear weapon for say maybe 20 years or 10 years kind of thing. But for Israel, it will be impossible to sort of support some sort of agreement where the nuclear question is not addressed to. Because for Israel, it's a question of survival, considering that Iran, time and again, has made it very clear that it will destroy Israel.
So, sir, bouncing back to Marco Rubio, who is in India, what exactly is the significance of his visit?
Fact of the matter is that Marco Rubio's visit to India is his first visit. He is there in India. He's going to be there for 4 days. And the fact remains is that, there is a degree of misunderstanding and a degree of, constraints on both sides when it came to the bilateral issues. But when Marco Rubio comes, it's very easy to talk to each other. And you may not achieve any positive solutions to anything, but you at least hear each other out. It's a huge relationship. It's a big relationship. It's a relationship which everybody in the world looks up to. And it's an opportunity for Marco Rubio to convey what the US wants from India. And it's an opportunity from India through External Affairs Minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar, to convey to Marco Rubio as to what India expects out of him. I mean, be it the immigration issue, be it the visa issue, be it, Pakistan issue, be it terrorism issue, be it China issue. So the entire spectrum is discussed between the two sides. And one must understand very clearly, which External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said, that if you are MAGA, we are for India first. So that is where the two sides have their own positions. And it's good for both of them to talk, to convey as to what is happening. And since President Donald Trump also yesterday joined in at the reception at Bharat Mandapam, electronically, he also conveyed the same message. And I think President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi are expected to meet next month at the G7 summit in Paris.
So what exactly is happening as far as the Quad is concerned? We know that the foreign ministers' meet is going to be taking place tomorrow. That's, of course, one of the key reasons that Marco Rubio is here. And what do you think they can do as far as the Strait of Hormuz crisis is concerned?
Quad is restricted to Indo Pacific. It is not going to go to address the issue of Strait of Hormuz. That is for the Americans, that is for its Middle East allies, that's for Middle East to sort of, find a resolution to. Quad's main focus will be Indo Pacific, will be allowing freedom of navigation in South China Sea, because over there what you see is a lot of, PLA Navy expansion. There is a lot of pressure on Taiwan, and particularly when President Xi Jinping has made it very clear to the Americans, and that too President Donald Trump, that he will not brook to any interference with Taiwan. So he has virtually conveyed that, this is a no-go area for you. So that is why Quad becomes a very important thing. Now, people tend to sort of, overstate the Quad by saying it is only thing against China, or they understate the entire thing, basically saying it's a talk shop. Well, it's neither of the two. What Quad is all about is much beyond China. It is basically for, having a commonality of ground where you can have actually alternate, global supply chains, where you don't have to depend on a particular country, where you have to ensure that you allow freedom of navigation through all the straits and South China Sea and the new routes that are coming up through the North Sea. So it has a very big objective, and it is for the 4 democratic countries to join hand. So you will have the Japanese Foreign Minister, Motegi-san, you will have Penny Wong from Australia, Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is there, and Marco Rubio also is in town. So the fact remains is that Quad is a platform where all the 4 democracies can discuss as to what they need to do, whether it is human disaster relief, whether it is global supply chains, whether it is sort of keeping the straits open. Because once the Iranians are allowed to dominate the Strait of Hormuz, and they threaten even the Red Sea and the Suez Canal by saying that they will not allow movement of ships through Bab el Mandab, then it becomes a huge issue, because then every country will say that, listen, then this is my area and I will not allow you. So that is why the message that Quad will pass on the freedom of navigation is a very big message, and that is what it is going to do. Now, you must understand that External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had gone to US earlier, followed by you had the Indian Foreign Secretary going to US, followed by Marco Rubio coming in. Now, obviously, the next step is the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump. So, Quad is actually work in progress, but it is also not stalled. It is also not a talk shop. It is basically creating an architecture where all the four democracies can hold each other's hand and push for, more stability in the Indo Pacific, considering that there are powers which want to, expand their naval ambitions way beyond their borders.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us and bringing us all of the latest, especially the analysis on what's taking place. With that, it's a wrap. But do stay tuned for more, especially for next week's episode of Point Blank.